So welcome. Here we are for another edition of the Cyanotype, learning how to do cyanotype printing. This week's is fun with troubleshooting and new ideas. So the first thing I'd like to ask is, does anybody have any questions, or maybe even did try doing the cyanotype this week, the last couple of weeks, and would like to show, or if they've got any questions of any kind, we can answer them.
No, I haven't even done a cyanotype yet.
Well, you know, if it's the problem is if it's not sunny or consistent sun, you got to wait for that.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
so,
I haven't done one either, but I did bring home a one of those UV lights.
yes.
So I thought I'd try that, since we've just been having the wettest summer on record, I think.
And who's that?
Katie.
Katie. Katie, what kind of light did you get?
It's I've used it before for exposing photopolymer plates, so I know it'll work.
It'll work,
Yeah.
because that's a really fussy thing that we'll be going over probably next week.
Well, in the
future. I'm sorry, not next week. Coming soon. Hello, Carol. I think there's a Carol coming.
So if there's no more questions, I can show
keep going, Carol.
I'll show an example. So this little project that I have, because I thought, you know, it's so much fun making these cyanotypes, but what do I do with it, you know? So you can add them into, you know, you can make cards and things like that. So I have been doing books for a long time and taken a number of classes, from a private tutor and also from college classes. So one of the things that I'm really intrigued in, and Margaret knows this, I get on a binge and I like things that are simple. So the first book I'm showing you is a book that has, it's quick and easy. We can use our, it's the pre-treated cyanotype blueprint paper. And it's, I can't find out where it is because I think it's from China, but I think it's like about 28 pounds or so. It's like a heavier quality computer paper. So this measures 11.5 by 8 inches. So it's kind of an odd shape. But anyway, what I like to do is try to do one sheet without doing any gluing or anything. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. I'm going to go over a little bit on what it looks like. And if you need supplies, we have the supplies at the store, at the Etsy store. You can find that on the website. So here's a couple of examples of the blueprint paper. The one on the far left is the example that I'm showing today. And I put the little red stitching around, and that was a lot of fun to do it on the paper. I put the red stitching on so that you'd be able to tell the difference between the front and the back. So now what I'm going to do, okay, the other thing is, the first one with the circles with the red stitching is a translucent stencil. The middle one is pressed just weeds. I have a lot of weeds in my where I am. My yard has no it doesn't, I'm in a kind of a pine forest, and weeds.
It's all that grows.
And then the one on the right is also a translucent stencil.
Oh, that's opaque.
Yeah, that's opaque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Anyway, it was opaque. So the translucent lets some of the light through on the left. And then on the right, the opaque doesn't let any light through. So I'm going to switch my camera. Hopefully it works. Great. So this is the example of the book that I'm going to use. And this would be the supplies. I just want to give a little, like a pro tip. So this book has no glue. And it's pretty easy to make. I will have, and Margaret will post it. We'll have it on YouTube, and also we'll post it in the chat. We have a PDF with all the measurements. And then if you need to, when you want to put it together, it's pretty simple. So you could either rewatch this on YouTube. It's very simple, but I have all the measurements and what kind of paper we used. So here is my blueprint paper. Now what I did is I scanned the blueprint. I scanned this and made a photocopy of it and printed it on cardstock. So that actually works just as well. So if you wanted to make a number of these little booklets and print them out, you could actually just scan one and then just print it out on a cardstock. That's just a little tip for you. So what I have done is I took the pre-treated blueprint paper. I put a little bit of stitching on the around the circles, and then that way you can tell the front from back. It also was kind of nice because it gave a little color. And the nice thing is I didn't have to do any measurements or anything, but because this was a design, I just kind of counted where the little spokes were here. So I'm going. So the first thing
Carol,
that I did,
Carol,
yes.
can you, I'm gonna unshare and you need to, there we go. Go ahead.
No, she's not the main focus. You are.
She shouldn't be.
Margaret, you're showing in the big screen. Carol's showing.
Okay,
on
tell me that. I'm going to unpin. Hang on, Carol. Is that helping or no?
No.
Okay.
Still the same.
I guess you could put me as presenter, maybe.
Yeah, hang on a minute. Does that help?
No, now you've got Judy up there.
Emmett.
All right, there's Sherry.
Oh, spotlight for everybody. Remove all pinned. Is that
There
it?
we go. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Carol.
Okay. So
Thank you.
hang on just a second. Here we go. So back to, here is my blueprint paper. It's 11.5 inches wide by 8 inches. I'm not sure why that is, but that's what the measurements are. So I again put the stitching and I followed and I didn't pre-punch the holes. I just put them in while I was stitching, and I think I used embroidery floss. So then what I did is I came and I decided, is it all right? I did 2 inches from the bottom up and 2 inches from the top down.
This is
And
all
then-
in that PDF.
Right.
Okay.
And then I scored it, across, and then scored it again. I then folded it. It says 5 I'll show you the instructions. It says 5 3/4 inches, but the easiest thing I do is just fold it in half and then score. You can score it either way. I then came 2 3/4 inches on each side. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sections, 4 sections of 3, so 12 areas. So the top and bottom are the same. And what the goal is to get this so it's halfway. I don't know if anybody ever remembers doing school books. When I was in elementary school, I had to make the first day of school, we had to make book covers. And this is very similar to the book covers, if anybody remembers that. Out of
we had to make
paper
book
bags.
covers for all our books. Yes.
Yep. So so if you wanted the book taller, you could make the space in between a little bit different. But I like it this way because that way I got a nice, it's nice and secure. So that I'm all ready for the front cover. So I just double check and make sure that it can fold properly. And then I'm just going to set this aside. So the next part is the accordion part of the book. This is the paper I use. I got it from Hobby Lobby, and it's called Canson XL Mixed Media 98 pounds. But you can buy this in the sheet, and they have 2 different kinds. One 98 pounds, and one must be like 110 or something. So this, I love this paper because it takes pen really well. I teach school, so I use this a lot for myself. It's really great for watercolor, and it's also really great for pen and ink. And it's kind of a nice weight, and it has a little bit of stiffness, but you can bend it without getting raggedy edges at the fold. So what I did is I figured out what the width of the book was going to be from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
What I needed. So then I multiplied that by, we needed 8 folds. So it ended up being 23 inches. So this area here is 4 inches. And this is 23 inches. The paper is 24 inches. You can actually make 4 books with a little bit of leftover if you wanted to cut 4 strips of this. So I'm going to show you a little folding technique that we've kind of developed over a number of years of taking different book classes. So I folded this in half, and then I'm going to lift this side, and you're just going to fold it in half again. And of course, I'm missing my. I had everything ready, but so you fold it in half. I flip it over, and I really like my accordions to work so that they're pretty flat. I know that a lot of times I've done them and they're, all zigzag and the tops don't match, and then you got to slice them up. So if you can, the measurements I have, you don't even need to worry about making score lines because I've already figured out what it needs to be. So then I'll take this edge, flip it over, and I come this way. Do the same thing on the other side. Should have had a darker background here.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so now what this looks like is I've got one fold on each side, but I have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, and then the long. So I'm going to flip it over, and you can do it 2 ways. I kind of like it this way, where you fold it back on itself and then bring it in, and it makes you can get a really nice accordion. So I bring it there, and then I put my bone folder, and then this way I've already, now I got the folds on that side. I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And sometimes I'll even do this just to make sure that I've got it nice and level. Like I said, I really like a nice fold on an accordion.
I'm not so picky, but mine are very janky looking.
So I've now got all these folded, and we want to make sure that the two flat edges are on each side. So the valleys are on the front and the back, and the mountains are in the middle. So we're going to take our cover, and just like we did in school with our books that we would cover, you would put just slide it in there. And then you take the other side and slide it in there. Now this one, because it's got some stitching, doesn't go in as easy. But I really like this little book. It's kind of a fun thing. If you have grandchildren, it's an easy thing to make, and it doesn't take too much paper. So it gives a really interesting design, and can be fun. It can also have, you could put like a secret messages on the back if you were so inclined. The other thing is, if you didn't have a complete strip of paper that was 23 inches, so long as you attached it, it really wouldn't make any difference, because all the there'd be nothing that would show, because you're where you would assemble it would be probably in the middle. So you could piece the accordion. So that's a fun little book. It's quick and easy. You can also just buy, and you can see this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, folded the exact same way, except I gave it a little more space in between, because I wanted a little taller book. And then I did the same exact thing. So, okay, so let's say I change this. All I do is I measure from here, from the top to the bottom, and I just adjust the height of the paper. And I think you might have to.
What you need me to do?
Nothing. I think you can pretty much keep the same length of 23 inches. So that just gives you a little idea of what the difference is between the 8.5 by 11 and the 11.5 by 8. It's just like I said, it's just changing it will change your sizes. So, okay.
This works for larger sheets too.
Yep, it works. You can use this as a big sheet. It really let me see. I should have are you able to share?
What do you mean share?
I was going to go to my Canva.
Yeah. If you exit out of what you're on and go over, you can share.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I got it.
You're okay. You're good. You're good. We'll get this eventually.
Yeah, maybe.
It'll be a while. I put the PDF in the chat. So, and that kind of has some measurements, and also where the fold lines would be if you want to make it larger or smaller, because you can go smaller too.
Yes. And I'm just going to show you that I have, I made up a little pictures with this. So I'm just gonna just quickly go through this.
Keep going.
Those are some of the little books that I had made, same idea.
Oh, wait a minute, slide back one. The orange one, the one with the orange, she actually photocopied the paper, not photocopy, scanned the paper and then printed that one out. So if you have a nice print, go ahead and scan it. It works out great. They print beautifully.
And the orange is also from, I switched the stencil and actually used acrylic paint and put the color on. So even the background is cyanotype, but the orange is actually paint.
Nice.
Here is a picture of part of the what the instructions look like, gives you all the measurements. And here again, you fold the top of the bottom up and the top down. And then you make sure that each one's folded into 4 sections. There's your accordion book. The mixed media is available at Hobby Lobby, and you want to make sure that it's a lighter weight paper. The mixed media, the Canson mixed media paper that's heavy is a little tricky to use for something small like this, because it's heavier than a cardstock. It's more like a cover stock. There you go with the folds and then how to assemble it. And now Margaret's going to show some really neat things about layering stencils in the cyanotype.
I will. All right.
And you want to make sure. Oh,
I will.
I
will. I'm
unshare?
gonna... No, I gotcha. I gotcha. I'm gonna replace this spout. So you're gone, Kara. All gone. Okay. All right.
Don't do that to me.
I love you.
She's down
Me
at the
too.
bottom. She's
I
not
love you
completely gone.
too.
Yeah, they're gonna be throwing up soon. Okay. So last week I went over where my little stencils go. That some of the stencils that you buy are very opaque, are very translucent. And then you can add paint to them and that makes them very opaque. So if it's translucent, it'll turn out more of like a blue on blue, because the sun will develop some will activate some of that and make it a blue on blue. And if the sunlight doesn't touch it, which is the more opaque one, they turn out very white. So that being said, I found these paper stencils. These are beautiful. They're just stinky beautiful. So there they are. And you can do this with anything that's transparent and opaque. You can actually layer the stencils. So what I did on this one is I put the butterfly down and then I put the translucent stencil right on top and then sandwiched it. Hang on one moment. Sandwiched it and then develop it and then put it out to develop.
Why don't you open that up all the way?
I will in a second.
I'm
So,
sorry.
It's all right. Oh, I just want people to see. So what you're seeing is the light blue. Sorry if it's moving here. So the light blue is that plastic stencil, and the paper stencil came out very white because it didn't let any color through. So when I did, Carol wants me to open it up. It's just a little zine. So the paper stencils came out very, very white. And you can see over here, it didn't quite work the same when I used that opaque stencil that I had painted. This one. So when you're layering it, it just ends up everything being white. So if you have some translucent stencils, and it's just practice, take a little bit of, just take your stencil and lay it on a small piece of that paper to find out how much you're going to see. This was about 5 minutes in the sun. to get it to go through the stencil and develop the back. Again, they were done at the same time, so the more opaque one turns very white. So
And you don't, with the blue, that's also blueprint paper.
this is the blueprint paper.
So that doesn't get that rich, beautiful blue that you get when you use,
However,
well.
that
you
being
know
said,
about it.
so this is the blue paper. It's the cardstock. So when I developed it, the stencil was here and this was the edge of that stencil. So this was pretty opaque and it blocked anything in the light blue is the color of the paper. The dark blue is the color of the cyanotype. Now, that was, let me see if I have that one. Yeah, that one's this one. Oops. So it's not completely opaque, but if you don't leave it, this was again 5 minutes outside, and I was able to block enough of the sun to get it to that light blue color. I forgot about it. Same stencil company, different stencil. I forgot about it and left it out there. Oh, I don't know. A long while. And what happened is I ended up getting where the sun penetrated that stencil and left a blue on blue color. So this is a different stencil company that's a little more opaque. So it came out more on the white side. The way I did this was actually done at the same time. And the way I did that is I taped my stencils together. Oops, let me turn it around. So nope, this way. So you can see these two are taped together right here. And then I lined them up and taped them here. And the reason why I did this is because the blue paper, the top part doesn't extend all the way down to the edge. So I wanted to add a little bit different
Pen.
pattern on the bottom.
Yeah.
Are we doing good, Carol?
Good.
Okay.
And
So-
if I could add something, you can use, I would use, like not packing tape, like, gift wrapping tape that's transparent, because if you use like, unless your stencil was super, opaque, like a black, they now sell these black stencils. You could use like electrical tape, but for something like this, if you just err on the side of transparent tape, like a gift packing tape, you're good to go. So you won't see that at all.
Just plain Scotch
Because-
tape.
You can actually use anything that, so long as it doesn't have UV protected on top of it. We'll go into that in a few minutes with our little pro tip.
Okay. So this design, so when I fold it up on the inside, the design shows. That's the reason why I did that. So it kind of forms a pocket.
Yeah.
And Carol, are you ready for the next one?
Okay. Do you want me to show the one I did?
Yeah. And not the one you wanted to do next. Is that correct?
Yeah. Hang
Okay.
on.
There you are. There you are. You're in the spotlight, my dear.
So we thought that it might be fun to show how to, what to do with this is the cyanotype paper that is heavier, and it's 100-pound watercolor paper. So if I wanted to, I could actually come back and put actual watercolor on this, or pen. It accepts watercolor paper, watercolor.
Pretty much anything
Color
except
pencil.
oil,
Yes, but
acrylic,
it's,
color pencil.
so I did the same thing Margaret did, except she was so much more clever than me. So this stencil is one of these big stencils. It must be 12 by 12. So I just laid it on top. I am not sure what happened here. I don't know if my hand, I get into a printing frenzy. So I had done a whole stack of, like a whole stack of these things. So I may have had water on my hand. So, that may have caused the problem here, but I'm not too worried about it. I'm just going to, the one thing about, cyanotype printing and any kind of printing where you're using stencils or you're leaf printing or you're making a carved print, it doesn't always turn out exactly the way you want. But I suspect that I got a little bit of dampness on my hand and ended up sprinkling it on there when I pulled it out. So I laid the stencil on top, and this stencil I did not leave out for very long, maybe 3-4 minutes, 5 at the max. So this gave a really nice white background with that really rich blue. And you can see the difference between this is the blueprint paper, and this is probably I might be able to get a little darker, but this is pretty much it. And then this is the actual cyanotype paper. Again, I measured, I think it was 2 inches. I like putting this little, I thought the pocket, and Margaret had done that with the different design. That was fabulous. So I just cut a little V. That way, when I go to put my book inside, I'll be able to have enough room. It doesn't stand open the whole time.
When
I
you
put
put the inside signature in, it
Yes.
gives it just a little room, so it fits real nice. Go ahead, Carol.
So I used a little bit of that red tape that the double stick tape, which is fabulous. I put it here and here, and the same thing here and here. And then I secured it, and now I've got a little booklet. And I'll show you the other side. I love these little weeds. I think that these are growing. They're actually choking the plants, but I thought that it was pretty. So I found those. And then I'll show you a finished book. This is with the blue and white paper. I made this 3 inches. And if you do it, okay, so it's 8 inches. If you do it 3 inches, you'll end up with a square book, which I thought was
5 by 5.
Yeah, a little interesting. It's a little different size, but I like that it's square. I put a very simple 3-hole signature with 4 sheets of that. Again, the Canson XL paper, and did my pockets. So this is just a very simple book. This one is the purple, and it's kind of like it's almost a blue purple. It's showing up blue, but it's more of a really deep color. One of the things to think about is, in the way of your color, is to use contrasting colors. And yellow is the complementary color to purple. So yellow or gold. So what I did is I used gold thread. And again, it's only 3 stitches or 3 holes. And with the gold cord, I put a little knot on each side because this cording will unravel really easily. Again, I have the pocket. And then what I did is I took a little gold paint and put just a little highlight of gold. I may sprinkle some gold flecks on top.
That's pretty.
You like flashing them up.
Yes.
That's pretty.
What did
Thank
you
you.
use as a gold? A gold pen, or I know
No.
you like the rub and buff. What'd you use?
I
ink.
use, it's a gold metallic luster. Like I said, because I teach school, I've got all kinds of, I have a lot of art supplies. So
statement, but
I know nobody knows anything about that, but I just used what I had. So that's all that I did. I think a little bit of, I didn't have enough time today to,
is that an acrylic ink, Carol?
it is. It's
Good.
called Treasure Gold. I either bought it at Michael's or Hobby Lobby because I live out in the boonies. So those are the only two stores I
Treasure
have.
Gold. What is it? Who's it by?
Folk Art Treasure Gold, and it's brilliant metallic luster, and it's gold. And what's nice about it, washed right out of my brush too. I was a little concerned that it would not wash out, that it was, you know, something I might have to really do some good cleaning on the brush, but it came right out. And I want to show you, I showed you this last week, but again, thinking about color, think about the contrasting colors. So this was a purple with gold. I could have used yellow, but this one is the blue with the orange. And it makes, if you use that, it'll make it pop. It's kind of a little art trick. So, and you'll see that in a lot of advertising. You'll see the complementary colors. So, let's see. That I think that's about it. I got do you want me to show those two that we're working on for next?
Yeah. Why we have it up? Yeah, sure.
Okay. So
This is the next times.
so I have, so again, I like to figure out how can I do this with the least, it's not the least amount of work, but how can I do it without the least amount of waste? So I don't have to cut I might have to trim this, but I don't have to cut this and then lose half of my design. So what I did is I decided I'd cut the paper into 4 sections. So I measured the sections, and then I came up, and what I like to do when I make books and a number of other techniques is I really like to make a mock-up. And especially if you're using paper and things that are a little expensive, or you only got like one sheet of it. This is what I say I like to do, but sometimes I just can't control myself and I just go
Do
for
what
it.
I do.
So what I did is an artist friend of mine gave me a whole load of mat board. It's really fantastic for these small little books. And if I didn't want to, I could actually just paste pictures and things on top. I could print on this. But I don't have to cover it or do anything. And it's stiff enough that for this size book, it works perfect. So I made a mock-up. So what it is 2 pieces of the mat board, 1 piece for the accordion fold, and then these would be all of my cyanotype paper. So what I did is I did the accordion fold, and then I ended up with this really neat design in the inside. So I'll show you one that I did with the so here I flipped the mat board over so that I wouldn't see the green. And then I had a sheet of this green paper. And then I ended up making this out of, because again, I was in a creative frenzy and I couldn't find my XL paper. So I had a piece of very lightweight poster board, and it worked pretty well. So I split the cyanotype paper into 4, then put it here, and then I was able to make this interesting. It's called a flag book, but it has the way you glue it, it'll give you like an extra little tab. So if I wanted to, I could add some more. I could add something else to this if I wanted to. And what's really neat around the design, which I'll show next week, is this is not one long sheet. This is one short. I think this measures 8 by 10. This is one short piece that is made by the way that you cut it. You can make this nice length accordion out of it. So what this is fun for is if you don't have a long sheet of like 20-inch paper, you only have a small sheet of paper, you can actually make the accordion out of it by this cutting method. So that's, and like I said, the cover is, I really like the mat board for this. And usually the mat board is, what is that, where you can have it for a long time? It's
Acid-free.
archival and all
Acid-free.
that, and acid free. So it's really, really nice. And this paper is also acid free. The cyanotype paper is acid free and archival. So even though it's got the cyanotype chemicals on it, it's still archival and acid free.
Okay, so that's the project part. What are we doing? Do you want to go back to
I
unsharing?
can go back. So
Come
I
back.
think we probably, there are the books, and this is again some weeds out in my yard. There's Margaret's two stencils on her pocketbook. And does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to know about?
Hey, Carol, come on back so we can see you.
Okay.
Okay. Carol, where'd you go? I'm gonna
We lost
unshare.
her. Nope. there
I
she is.
didn't know. No, she's here.
I'm here.
She's here. So I'm gonna add a spotlight. There I am.
There
I
you
don't
go.
know why that doesn't work until I get into this. But, I put in the type of paint you use. Any gold paint works. The acrylic works better. The some things like the rub and buff, and there's like an oil-based one. If they have oil, that's going to be absorbed in and will leave like a halo on the paper. So you have to be kind of picky on that. Doesn't have a base on there. So an acrylic, gold, some of those gold pens that are out there, I think they're more like a gold marker. Some of the oil-based ones, like I said, don't do well on paper.
You could use
yeah.
like a gel pen, right?
A gel pen
You
would
can use a
work.
gel
Mhm.
pen. And then I have another example of, oh, shoot.
Lift it up. Just put your hand behind it. It'll show right up.
So this is
Look back.
Gold leaf.
Like there we go. Not too much. That's good.
So there you go. This is gold leaf. And that it's actually prettier in person than what it's showing up on. So
Yeah,
it can,
that came to my house one day and I had to return it.
it's just,
Ooh.
again, this is just a half a sheet of that paper. And again, a very simple, just what they call a pamphlet book.
How do you apply gold leaf?
So they sell you can use rubber cement, but they sell, if you got to buy rubber cement, you might as well just go to the store and purchase. It's it's very similar to rubber cement. I would get disposable, the really cheap paintbrushes, or something that it's not very easy to take off your brush. So I paint the with a brush, I paint the glue on the sections I want. You let it dry, and I'll show you an example. Again, I'm not very patient. So over here is where I had spent a little time and let it dry. And then this section, whoops, here, I did not let it dry long enough. So when I put the gold leaf on top, it kind of squished it and stuck. Instead of getting a nice fine line like here, I got like big blobs. And that was just because I was impatient.
Just,
So
just
what-
follow the instructions on the glue.
Right.
There's a very thin, it's pretty long, but you have to let it dry to a certain point, but not too long.
So it's what you want is slightly tacky. And then the gold leaf, which is some kind of plastic that they sell at the Hobby Lobby or Michael's. And then you just lay that on top. And I like taking another paintbrush that has nothing on it. And then you start brushing at it and it'll come off in very fine little flakes. And
Gotcha.
I like it. It gives a beautiful, I wish this showed as pretty as it is.
So
but
do
it-
they sell the glue with the
Yes,
gold leaf?
yes.
Okay.
And the other thing that looks really nice is when you just splatter the glue down or just kind of randomly put it and then let it dry so that it's very, it's slightly tacky. You don't want it like this area here was very tacky. And so what happens is when you put the gold leaf on top, it ends up sticking everywhere and it doesn't come off as easily. But if you want to get some fine lines, you let it dry a little bit until it's slightly tacky and then put it on. It's kind of very, very similar to the old-fashioned rubber cement. But normally you can buy them in a kit or you can buy it as a two separate things. So it's not really too expensive. And you can
and they have a multicolor pack where it has copper, gold, and silver. And sometimes they have
my.
flakes. If you just type in gold leafing in Michael's, you'll have more than you can even decide on.
And the other thing, if you don't want to waste it, you can save the little flakes. And then on another project where you're just putting the glue down, you can actually just sprinkle it on top because it doesn't matter if this is one piece or two pieces, it'll all attach the same way.
It breaks apart pretty easily. So
It doesn't, it gives a pretty good effect of gold leaf. Margaret and I have both done actual gold leaf, and this is a pretty good facsimile of gold leaf.
Yeah, I've done actual gold leaf too. I've done Kambu on silver,
Mm-hmm.
which is the real deal. But
yeah, we did some icons, some egg tempera icons, and they're just
wow.
stunning with that real gold leaf. And then both of us have taught school, and we did the icons with the students, and we just use this kind of gold leaf, and it's a really nice primer in the way of you're not investing $1 million, and they get the feel of real gold leaf with it.
The
Great.
last little tip on this is, okay, so you put your glue down, let it get it so it's slightly tacky. Then put the gold leaf on top, brush it off. And you can even use kind of those white kind of cheap brushes.
Or a
Brush it
makeup brush.
or yeah, anything.
We
Just
don't use it
brush
for
it off.
makeup.
And then what I like to do is I'll take a cotton cloth, or I just generally just use a Kleenex. And then you just, I guess it would be considered huffing, but just a light breath on top, and then rub with the Kleenex, and it'll bring the shine back up.
You're
So
buffing
the
it.
more you do that, it'll give like a polish to it. So you
Yeah,
can't
don't breathe
even
in though.
polish this. And you can come back later after it's actually dry, really dry, and do the same thing, and then rub at it. So
Great.
and so next on our little thing next week, what we'll be doing
2 weeks.
2 weeks, I'm sorry. September, I forget the time.
13th.
We're going to be starting preparing for, if you want to learn about more advanced cyanotype with using the chemicals. So we're going to go over some of the paper to use, and also you can do fabric and other things. So we'll discuss kind of what you need to collect if you want to try the chemicals on different surfaces. So the cyanotype is really interesting because it makes it permanent on porous surfaces. And also these it dates back to the beginning of photography, and they used to do these as an inexpensive way to have photographs. So they still are, they fade, which is weird. Instead of fading when you're in the light, like the overhead lights, it fades in the sun. But if you bring it inside, it will not, it'll
It comes back.
come back to life.
They don't fade over time. If
Yeah.
they stored in the dark, they don't fade over time. They have them that are just as brilliant over at the Victoria and Albert. I believe they have them all over the place, but Victoria and Albert's the one with the biggest, I think one of the larger collections.
And I can show some samples. I have a couple of postcards that were done. It was very interesting because they use this cyanotype process. It was a way that the average man could have what we would consider maybe like family, kind of fun family portraits that we do with our cell phone. They use a cyanotype printing very, very similar to what we use as cell phone. We found some pictures where they had like, I don't know, 10 family members, and they had eaten out of, they cut the watermelon in a ring. So one guy's had eaten the inside of the ring out. He's got it on his head. Another family member has the watermelon sideways. It's really goofy pictures. And I think that they were able to develop these in like a little tent, or maybe take them back to the house and be able to develop them. So a lot of them were postcards, and a lot of women who had babies had a postcard size where someone, itinerant photographer, would come, take a photograph of the mom and baby so they could send it to their mother or the grandmothers.
And it also is inexpensive enough setup that if you were really interested in it, you could do it as a hobby.
Yes.
It was one of the first photography hobbies. It wasn't just for the rich and professional.
Because it was fantastic that you could have a photograph of yourself without spending a whole lot of money, and they were really beautiful pictures. They also did a lot of these were the amateur photographers did a lot of landscape pictures and pictures of buildings and things, which was really fantastic because it was a way in small towns that it could document the architecture that you might not have a professional photographer come. So generally photography is a little complicated. So this is, and it's expensive, and you need all kinds of equipment. It's more or less 2 chemicals. I mean, you can add more, and I mean that, like the hydrogen peroxide helps with the development in the water, but it's not necessary. But it's mainly just 2 chemicals mixed together that are eco-friendly, and they produce this permanent photograph or images, essentially blueprint, or I forget what they called it. That there was a name for them. Anyway, I'll have that.
Photograms.
Photograms.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
They've got like a bunch of different names for it.
Yes. So, so next week we'll be preparing so that in 4 weeks we can start showing you some of the really fun things to do with the mixing the chemicals together. And you can
Good.
put it on fabric. I've used it for book covers, but you can make boxes. You can do all kinds of really
Seashells,
fat.
you've done seashell, you've done all sorts
Yeah.
of stuff.
Oh, and on wood
Wood.
also. So it's a really fantastic, and
It's fun.
it's fun.
Really.
It's a lot of fun to see what it looks like.
Addictive.
It is, that it is. That it is, that it is. I think that's it. Do we have anything else there? I'll
Did
be
you put the-
posting this to. I did actually record it this time, so
I
I'll be,
noticed.
I did, I'm being good on this. So I'll post it along with the PDF or the PDFs in YouTube. And hopefully Carol and I will figure out where we can put it on our website. So you'll have easy access to it.
Great.
Would anybody like any questions or say anything?
Show us anything.
Oh, I wish I had something to show, but I don't.
So do you feel like you're getting some good information?
Oh, absolutely. This is great. I'm
Fantastic.
taking lots of notes.
Excellent.
Carol.
Oh, we have before anybody leaves, we have a little giveaway.
Oh,
Okay, here we go.
And these
Okay.
are the translucent, these are the paper stencils. So
Do you
you
wanna
could
pop them
also,
up? Do you want to pop that picture up? Just that one
Yeah.
picture.
so you can use these on
And you can cyanotype them later.
you can cyanotype them. You could
oh, cool.
use them for mixed media. You can do all kinds of things. You could even paint them and then cyanotype with them. It doesn't matter.
But okay, that's good. I'm gonna
Very cool.
undo it. And it is Katie, hand your hand. Yay!
And
So-
so our next meeting will be September 13th at the same time on Eastern time. And thank you so much for joining us. We
Oh, thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Katie, you can either email us or if you want to pop your address in the
I'm
chat.
doing that right now.
Oh, perfect, perfect.
You
I
want
think
my
that's
email
it.
address or my
I need your
street-
physical address so I can mail it
physical
to you.
address? Okay.
Unless you
I'll
don't
send-
want to do
I'll-
it, and then I can email you first to get it, or however you want to do that.
And
That's-
at any time, if you
Thank
guys
you,
have any
Laurie.
questions or anything, or what you see something online and you'd like to learn how to, do it with the cyanotype, just let us know and we'll do the research and figure out, or we may already know how to do it. So if there's anything that you'd like to know about, we'd be happy to show you. We got the printing on the fabric, or like little gift bags, those little cotton bags.
Mhm.
That'll be in
Adorable.
about 4 weeks. I'll show you
Fun.
how to do that. My God, they're just beautiful. So it's just really a lot of fun.
All righty. Well, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
And-
you so much.
Learned a
you.
lot.
Oh,
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And if
Thank
you
you
have any
so much.
questions, just email us or save them up for next time.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
will
Sounds
do.
good. See y'all then.
All right.
Thanks.
See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.